how are you guys thinking about breaking up this new site or future sites between AI, HPC, and Bitcoin mining? Like, what's the golden method for this?
That's a good question. So basically, we have a long-term vision because we own or have the option to purchase sites in our portfolio. And so we've been contemplating this. And what's really interesting is that we actually have optionality to convert existing facilities over 50 megawatts in sites that we either own the land or have an option to that operate on the land with an option to purchase. And so 50 megawatts of AI compute is massive, right? Like that's a lot. And when you convert it all to tier 3, you're going to have about 2/3 of usable power because you have cooling and redundancy, et cetera. But it's a lot, right? When you think about how many NVIDIA Blackwell clusters you can fit into a megawatt, you scale that out to like the 10 megawatt, like the biggest of the biggest. There's an incredible article on Semi-Analysis about the race to build a 100,000 H100 cluster, and you'll need about 150 megawatts for that. That doesn't exist yet. Single site 150 megawatt AI that's got 100,000 H100 clusters. So that's the hyperscaler level, right? So we realize in our arsenal, we have facilities, and this isn't like, people talk about pipeline and they're like, oh, we got a gigawatt of pipeline. Well, what is this, like moose pasture? And like, you're going to like, these are like existing operating voltages step down to 240, right? You put a UPS, some cooling, some redundancy. And by the way, in data centers, they're always talking about raised floors. In crypto mines, everything's already overhead because we have like concrete floors. And so you could just do everything over. I mean, I'm not going to give away the secret sauce here, but
I think Will,
too much
for your listeners, when you look at a data center that's ASIC, Bitcoin mining, you have to immediately look at $1 million a megawatt infrastructure spending. Yeah. It's really simple. 100 megawatts, 100 million.
Yeah.
That's what you have to immediately, it's like the back of the envelope scope out. HPC, 10 million a megawatt.
Or more sometimes. Yeah, it's crazy.
With GPUs, it's an additional 50.
Excluding the chips. Excluding the chips. Now you're hitting 20.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, you're going to be able to spend 100 million over here and spend 100 million for only 10 megawatts. You actually get the same revenue. That's the real why the HPC is so exciting for people looking at it. But the complexity of how to do it. We see other people, they say they've got how many hundreds of H100s out? We have 94?
96.
So 96. And we make more money.
Yeah.
So you're scratching, how could you have so many more machines than us?
Yeah.
Or someone else that has twice the electricity and Bitcoin mining and produce less Bitcoin than us.
Yeah.
So I think that the industry is going to go through what we're seeing is the big value is energy. So you can see some of the headlines. I got 200 megawatts in East Texas or West Texas, et cetera. But where, how much? Because there's a sea change that happened this year when besides a Bitcoin ETF, which is really key to all of a sudden making a change to Bitcoin miners, and I saw this in 2003 with the GLD bullion ETF changed the valuations for gold stocks. So we'll go through this transition, but energy. So when AWS bought the access to 900 megawatts of electricity for $650 million, all of a sudden nuclear is green.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. But because it's Amazon, and Amazon realizes the significance of sourcing that energy that is steady, then you see CoreWeave go after Core Scientific. They say no. Then all of a sudden, CoreWeave is spending for their infrastructure spend. Why? Because they have the energy.
Yeah.
And so we say, okay, what happens if we come out with 50 megawatts of tier 3 to build out for? Well, what's the value if you have the energy for 50 megawatts? Capital markets now say $2 million to $3 million because you have that energy. So I think you're seeing all these shifts in the past few months on the value of uranium, nuclear reactors, all of a sudden the value of sourcing energy. Why? Because the hyperscalers are coming in and looking at the Bitcoin miners that we actually, Fred Thiel said it well, they're going to start talking negative about us.
Yeah.
Why? To get our energy.
Yep.
And so we just feel we're quietly going through that transition, and we're throwing off free cash flow every day.
Yeah.
And we have a big vision of just scaling it like we did Paraguay.